Namaste everyone, welcome back to CodeCraft with Poonam. I'm your coding mentor Poonam Agrawal. So if you have already watched my part 1, then you know how to use ChatGPT for your Java theory revision and HR interview preparation. And if you have watched my part 2, then you have already learned how to practice DSC coding interviews with ChatGPT. So, today in this session, we are moving to another topic that almost every Java developer gets asked during interviews. Yes, that is Java 8 coding interviews. Okay, so before that, let me ask you something. So, have you ever experienced this during an interview? That the interviewer asks, using Java streams, can you find the highest paid employee in each department? And suddenly your mind goes blank. You know what Java streams are. You have watched plenty of tutorials, right? You have used methods like filter, map, collect, right? But the moment someone says, write the code, everything disappears. You start wondering, should I use grouping by? Should I use collectors dot max by? How do I use optional here? So should I write lambda expression or use a method reference? And while you're trying to remember the syntax, the interviewer is quietly observing you. Here's the truth. The problem is not that you don't know Java 8. The real problem is you never practiced writing Java 8 code under interview pressure. Okay, and that's exactly what today's ChatGPT prompt helps you do. So instead of behaving like a search engine, ChatGPT becomes your personal Java 8 interviewer. Got it? So it gives you one realistic coding problem at a time. It waits for your solution. It reviews your thought process before reviewing your code. It explains every stream operation you use. It suggests cleaner and more interview ready approaches. And it also highlights common mistakes that candidates make. And just like a real interviewer, it finishes by asking follow up questions to test your understanding. So, by the end of this video, you will have one powerful copy paste ChatGPT prompt that turns ChatGPT into your personal Java 8 interview coach. So, let's get started. So, here is your Java 8 interview personal coach. Before we jump into today's Java 8 interview questions, there's one important step I always recommend. Don't open ChatGPT and immediately ask, give me Java 8 interview questions. Instead, just spend 1 minute telling ChatGPT how you want it to behave. Tell it your experience level, your strong and weak areas, and most importantly, tell it to behave like a real Java interviewer instead of simply giving you answers. Okay, so that completely changes the quality of your interview practice. So I have already explained this coding round setup prompt in part 1. So I won't repeat everything here. Okay, so you will find the complete setup prompt in the description below. Just paste it once at the beginning of a new ChatGPT conversation and let ChatGPT acknowledge the instructions. And after that, you are ready to start practicing Java 8 interviews exactly like a real coding interview. Okay, so here is our coding round setup prompt. Okay, this one. Okay, this is all the instructions which I have provided here. Okay, so when you enter this, here it is. It acknowledged us. Whatever information we have provided, the instructions which we have given, based on that, it acknowledged us here. Okay. So here, by this you can say that now that ChatGPT understands your interview style, your experience level, and how to practice. Okay, so let's move to today's Java 8 interview prompt. Now comes the most valuable part of today's video. And honestly, this is very different from asking ChatGPT, give me some Java 8 interview questions. Because if you ask ChatGPT like that, it will simply generate a list of questions and answers. That's useful for revision, but that's not how interviews work. So, in a real interview, nobody gives you the answer first. The interviewer gives you a problem, waits for your approach, observes how you think, reviews your code, and then asks you to improve it. That's exactly what this prompt makes ChatGPT do. So instead of behaving like Google, it behaves like an experienced Java interviewer. So it asks only one coding at a time. It does not reveal the answer immediately. It waits patiently for your solution and after you finish. Okay. And also, it evaluates your entire interview performance, not just whether your code compiles. It reviews your thought process. It checks whether your stream operations are clean. It explains every Java 8 feature you have used. It suggests more readable alternatives. It discusses time and space complexity. It highlights common mistakes that developers make during interviews. And finally, just like a real interviewer, it asks a follow up question to see whether you truly understand the concept. So let's paste the prompt into ChatGPT and see how it works. So here it is. You see that you are a senior Java developer conducting a Java 8 coding interview. Okay, all these things, the focus areas, the difficulty level, easy to medium, and here I have provided the instructions. Okay, all these things, give the problem title, explain the business scenario, provide sample input, expected output, and all these instructions. Okay, here you see. And after you submit your answer, okay, then it will evaluate based on this instructions which here I have provided. Okay, so here you see. Okay, so if you take a close look at this prompt, you can notice that I never asked ChatGPT to teach me Java 8. Instead, I asked it to interview me. That's a huge difference. And another thing I really like is this line, that is, review my thought process before reviewing my code. So, most candidates think interviews are only about writing code, but they are not. Interviewers also evaluate how you approach a problem, how you explain your logic, and whether you can improve your own solution. That's why I included this instruction. I also asked ChatGPT to explain every stream operation used in the solution. So, this is incredibly useful because many developers memorize stream syntax, but they don't actually understand why they are using methods like map, filter, grouping by, or collect. So, finally, instead of ending with the solution, ChatGPT asks another interview question. So that makes every practice session feels like a real interview instead of just solving isolated coding problems. So now let's see what kind of interview question ChatGPT generates. Okay. So when you enter this, here it is. Your Java 8 coding interview question number 1. Okay, with the problem title, that is filter and sort active employees using Java streams. And here is our business scenario, right? This instruction I have already provided. Okay, so this one, okay, and then here you see this is the class. Okay, this is the sample input, this is the expected output, and the explanation. Okay, and before you write the code, please explain the following as if you were in a real interview. Okay, so here you need to provide the answers, that is your understanding of the problem, your clarifying questions, your initial approach, and why do you choose these stream operations, all these things. Okay, you need to answer all these questions. Okay, and here is your coding task. You need to provide the solution. Okay, So now ChatGPT has given us our first interview question, right? So you notice something interesting here. It didn't immediately ask us to write code. Instead, it's asking us to explain our thought process first. This is exactly what happens in real technical interviews. So many candidates make the mistake of jumping straight into the coding. Yes, but experienced interviewers want to understand how you think, not just whether you write the Java syntax. So let's answer these questions one by one. Okay, so now here is my answer. Okay, my understanding of the problem. Okay, this answer I have provided, and for clarifying question, this thing. Okay, and for the third question, and for the fourth question, and for the fifth question, you can see these answers are provided by me. Okay. So this is the edge cases. Okay. So here you notice that how we have not written a single line of code yet, right? But we have already demonstrated problem understanding, communication skills, algorithmic thinking, and knowledge of Java 8 streams. This is exactly what interviewers look for before they even evaluate your implementation. So now that we have explained our approach, right? So now let's see the response. So when you enter this, here is the evaluation that is done by the ChatGPT. So here you see interview evaluation, that is thought process only. So here you provided overall rating, review of your thought process. Okay, so that's great, right? ChatGPT has finished reviewing my solution. And this is one of the biggest advantages of practicing with AI. It does not just tell me whether my code is correct. It explains why it's good, what I did well, and where I can improve. So let's look at some of the key feedback. Okay, so here you see it provided me overall rating, that is 9.5 out of 10. So that's encouraging, right? But what's even more valuable is the detailed feedback. So let's go through some of the important points. So here, review of your thought process, problem understanding, clarifying questions, initial approach. Okay. And for this one, excellent explanation. So here you notice that it provided rating for each of this. Okay. Here you see for this one also, for this one. Okay. And now comes here. This is the example, right? And then here is our time complexity. Okay. This is space complexity edge cases, communication during a real interview, minor improvements. Okay. And here is the next step. So here it is. You see this. This is the code which I have provided. Okay. So when you enter this here, it will evaluate. See the overall interview performance is 9.7 out of 10 and review of your thought process for this particular coding problem. Okay. And it reviews your Java code also here. What you did well. Okay. So here you see that in the method reference, this one employee method reference is active. So here it said that it is an excellent choice. So here first ChatGPT appreciated the use of method reference. So instead of writing this lambda expression, I used method reference, right? So it's shorter and cleaner and considered a better Java 8 coding style. Okay. And then this is filtering. Okay. So it said that correct readable business rule is implemented exactly. Okay. And then coming to this comparator here, you see comparator dot comparing employee method reference get salary dot reversed method. So here you see that it's excellent. This is the interview preferred way. Avoids writing this way. Okay. So which is more verbose. So here you see that it also liked the way I sorted the employees. Instead of writing a long custom comparator, I used this, right? Comparator dot comparing employee method reference get salary reversed method, right? So this is exactly the style most interviewers expect to see in Java 8 interviews. So it's simple, readable, and easy to maintain. Got it? And then here is mapping perfect. Okay, the only the required field is returned. This is the correct terminal operation. Okay, and here you see this is the code readability, and here you see it provided me rating that is 10 out of 10. So here this is the another thing I really liked. The ChatGPT didn't just review the logic, it also reviewed the readability of my code. It appreciated that each stream of operation is on a separate line. So the code is easy to follow. The method name is meaningful, and I used method references wherever appropriate. Okay, so these may seem like a small details, but they leave a strong impression during technical interviews. And then coming to this explanation of every stream operation, here you see, okay. Here is the cleaner interview ready solution, okay, this one. So here you notice that one optional improvement is to avoid the magic number by introducing a named constant. Okay, this one. This improves maintainability because business rules are centralized. So here ChatGPT also suggested a small improvement. So here instead of directly writing the value 50,000 in the filter condition, I could define it as a constant. So this makes the code easier to maintain if the business rule changes in the future. I only need to update the value in one place. That's a small change, but it demonstrates good coding practices. Okay. And then coming to this alternative solution. Okay. So here, this one is the alternative solution. Here it said which is better. Okay. So here another interesting suggestion was about filtering. So instead of using two separate filter operations, I could combine both conditions into a single filter. So both approaches are correct. However, I personally prefer using two separate filter calls because each one has a single responsibility. So that it improves readability. And in interviews, readable code is usually preferred over a compact code. Okay. And then coming to this time complexity, here you see that this is the filtering of n, okay. Sorting is this one, mapping, collecting. So here overall worst case, okay. So here overall worst case is O of n log n. So here finally ChatGPT confirmed the complexity analysis. So the overall time complexity is O of n log n because sorting is the most expensive operation. And then here is our the space complexity. Okay, so here you see that sorting may require additional memory internally. So overall auxiliary space is O of n worst case. Okay. And here you see the auxiliary space complexity is O of n in the worst case. So our solution is not only correct, it's also efficient. Got it? So here is the common interview mistakes and how to communicate this solution during an interview. Okay, but the interview is not over yet. Yes, a good interviewer almost are always ask a follow-up question to test whether you truly understand the concept. So let's see what ChatGPT asks next. So here is your follow-up interview question. So here, suppose the business requirement changes. This is the question it provided here. Okay. So now this is exactly why I love using ChatGPT for interview preparation. It does not stop after checking whether your code works. It challenges you with the follow up questions, just like a real interviewer. So these questions help you think beyond the initial solution and prepare for the kind of discussions you will face in actual technical interviews. Okay, and you can see ChatGPT didn't just generate a coding question, it acted like a real interviewer. It asked me to explain my thought process. It reviewed my Java code. It suggested improvements. It explained best practices. And finally, it challenged me with a follow up interview question. This is exactly the kind of practice that helps you build confidence before a real interview. So, now here's a small challenge for you. Don't stop with the first problem. Try solving the follow up question on your own. That's where the real learning begins. So if you get stuck, let ChatGPT guide you, but always attempt the solution yourself first. Okay. And if you would like to use the exact prompts shown in this video, don't worry about typing them manually. I have shared everything in my Telegram channel, including the coding round setup prompt and the Java 8 interview prompt. So the Telegram link is available in the description box, okay, and also in the pinned comment. So you can join the channel and start practicing today. So if you found this video helpful, then please give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to CodeCraft with Poonam for more Java interview preparations. So in the next part of this series, we will use ChatGPT to prepare for another important Java interview topic with realistic coding scenarios and interview style feedback. Okay, so until then, keep learning, keep growing. This is Poonam Agrawal from CodeCraft with Poonam signing off.